to From Age to Age, an oral history podcast series about the parish history and hopes for the future from the Church of St. Francis Xavier in New York City. We're recording in the second floor parlor of our parish, and because of that, you may hear sirens, dogs, or a steady hum of construction. My name is Michelle Jung, and I'm a parishioner of St. Francis Xavier and a member of the Oral History Ministry. The Oral History Project was conceived to preserve the unique history of this church by inviting our longtime parishioners to share their personal stories with a newer generation, illustrating why this parish is distinctive, unique, and a very special place.
Hello, my name is Bill Lyons, and I'm here with Kathleen, and we're going to have a conversation about St. Francis Xavier, and it's really great to be here. I've been a parishioner for on and off for 15 or more years, and we've been in some meetings together, but haven't had a one-on-one conversation. So really excited to be having this conversation here with you today.
Yeah, hi Bill. This is really nice to have the chance to talk and get to know each other. So I've been a parishioner for almost 18 years.
That's great. That's wonderful. Well, we're so grateful for your leadership, and you've had such an impact on our parish, and so great to talk about your experiences here.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
You too.
Cool. Well, thanks. So I guess one of the first questions is kind of how did you find St. Francis Xavier, and kind of do you remember what it first felt like when you attended here?
Yeah, so I moved to New York in 2002, and I was looking for a progressive and inclusive parish. I lived uptown, so I began looking for churches near where I lived, and eventually found my way down to Chelsea. And when I walked into this church, I just felt the warmth of the community. Yeah, for one of the first times in my church going in New York, somebody said hello to me. So they were very warm and welcoming. And the homily it was different than what I've been used to. It was very challenging and very focused on inclusion and social justice. And then I looked at the bulletin and found pages and pages of groups, activities, all kinds of cool things. So then I knew I was home.
It sounds like you knew right from the moment you walked in that you felt at home here. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, pretty much. How about you?
It definitely felt like home for me when I was first here, but I always kind of felt like it didn't matter whether I was here or not. It seemed like such a big parish, and it wasn't until, only recent years that I realized how much of a need there was for people to take on leadership roles and get more involved. So that was kind of very much of an evolution for me. I've been awe-inspired by your leadership on the disability justice work, and there have been a couple of meetings a couple of years ago with Father Dan that we had around disability justice stuff, and I've been so impressed with your kind of leadership of that work and such a powerful kind of prophetic voice within our community to call ourselves to our better angels in that regard.
Oh, thank you so much. One of the reasons why I feel so at home here at Xavier is because Xavier is so welcoming of all different sorts of people. Sometimes when I go to a church, people assume that I'm there to be prayed for, to be healed, to be fixed in some way. And now, like, I am who I am. I have a permanent disability. It's never gonna change. And that's okay. And what I think Xavier does really well is includes people of a variety of backgrounds and abilities and everything to not only be let in the door, but to involve in parish life.
Mm-hmm.
However, once at a church, I volunteered to be a minister of hospitality.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, they're like, no, we're good. So I'm like, what? But here at Xavier, they do allow me and other people with different abilities to really be involved and to show our talents.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not people who come to church to be healed or to be prayed for. Although that's always good, but we're not here to get fixed. We're here to contribute.
And I missed the last part of that. We're not here to be fixed, but
We're here to contribute. We're here to be involved.
to contribute.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Wonderful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
How about you tell us more about what the Xavier Outings does?
Well, I think one of the things that we thought about when we were starting that was this parish is so great on social justice works and the Xavier mission, and that so many of the people are leaders on environmental justice and disability justice and other things. And sometimes the work of our church is very heavy, and that there's a great quote about religion should afflict the comfortable and comfort the afflicted. And so Xavier Outings was sort of started to kind of go out and do fun things together, and sort of the fruit of our faith should be joy. And what ways can we connect people and go do fun things together and celebrate the joy of our lives? Especially many of us who spend a lot of time in our professional work or elsewhere working for justice and can feel very kind of tired and burdened. And so that's one of the things that feels a little light and kind of superficial at times to sort of be focused on that. But
I think it's really important because if we get too focused on the heavy stuff, we can get burned out or just frustrated.
Yeah.
Because change is very slow and we need to enjoy our lives as it is.
So tell me more about some of the ministries you've been involved in over the years.
Sure. Well, I've been involved in disability ministries. So one thing that we did many years ago was to help educate other ministers to welcome people with disabilities as equals in ministry. And so that's worked out really well. We have people serve who have different abilities. We had a woman who used to be electric, and she would read Braille from the pulpit. That was really cool.
Was it a process to get the Braille Bibles?
Quite a process. You wouldn't believe it.
Really?
With disability issues, sometimes it's so complicated to get. So, we have to give them at least a week or two notice. They can take a long time to make. Even one-page reading into Braille. And I think also there aren't a whole lot of places who do that. We're lucky to have some because we live in a big city, but even then, they're very slow, so it's annoying. But we got it done.
That's good.
We have readings.
That's great.
I've also been a Eucharistic minister, hospitality minister, and for a while I was a catechist for the children's program. Like 8 years ago, I got a new job. I moved to Westchester, and getting here at 8:30 on a Sunday was not really the noise of my life anymore. So I taught for probably 5 or 6 years, and it was really fun. So I do miss that, but like you said, it's time for new people to get involved.
That's great.
Also,
What ages did you teach?
mostly I taught the little ones, so from ages 4 to like first grade, or second grade, usually. I like them because they're still at the age where they want to be here. They like teachers. Yeah, like, if you say draw something, they'll be upset for like 20 minutes. Yeah, that like, when you teach it, I taught one year 5th graders, and that was a whole different story. It was also fun, but yeah, they want answers. There are a lot of answers in faith. Yeah, enriching to my life to be around these kids and to hear what they wonder about.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Sounds like you've been involved in all sorts of ministries here at the parish. And
it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'd be curious to think about kind of what your experience kind of during Mass and the kind of celebrations of Mass at Xavier on kind of ordinary Sundays and during big holy days like Easter or Christmas.
Oh, right.
Kind of do things stand out for you particularly, or things you have questions about of kind of our faith life here?
Most of the days, the holy days, I'm not here, I'm with my family. So I've never been to like a Christmas Mass. I've been to some Easter vigils, and they're just amazing with, singing, dancing, candles, and just really powerful stuff. It's really powerful to see other people really engaged in liturgy. I feel like maybe less so than other places. People pay attention. People sing with the choir. Yeah, my parents' church in a rural town. Nobody sings it except a cantor, and there's not much that goes on at the parish other than masses and family faith and wedding to funerals. Like, that's what they do at our church. So I think here the liturgy is so rich and so deliberate. It's obvious that people plan it very carefully.
And you said deliberate? Is that the word you used?
Yeah. Even with I don't know if I can say this, but non-priests, voicing their thoughts, as a reflection or homily of sorts. Was it last week? Last Sunday, like a week ago, was Mission Sunday, and Cassie Agredo, who's the executive director of Xavier Mission, spoke from the pulpit about the mission. I feel like it's really nice to connect the real world to liturgy. Yeah,
that's beautiful. Yeah.
How about you? What do you think of liturgy?
I think what you said is so beautiful. I think the idea of kind of connecting the real world with the liturgy, and Cassandra and kind of her talking about the Xavier Mission is so profound. When we're upstairs and downstairs, there, people being fed, and the kinds of programs that they run that run the gamut for kind of adult education, and the variety of programs that they're doing is pretty remarkable. And then I think the lay people being able to be able to be involved in preaching and kind of sharing their reflections, and then the participation of the congregation. That is pretty amazing. And even just the diversity, I think sometimes we struggle with being as inclusive as we could be. And, I think on some racial justice elements, we've haven't been where we could be. And I think we're working on that. And then gender diversity, I think, is a big issue within the church. But I think there is some attention to that in terms of, who are the Eucharistic ministers and, who's doing the readings, and that there is kind of a diversity of representation. Maybe we can do better. I'm sure we can do better. I know we can do better. But it is good to see that we're doing better maybe than some other places.
Right.
Yeah.
I also I think it was during the past year, they added an American Sign Language interpreter to Mass. So that's also cool to see.
Yeah, to have sign language.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Were you a part of having that happen? Was that part of the Disability Justice Minute?
Amazingly, no. I was so impressed. I'm like, whoa, they did something without me poking them. Because usually I'm the one, or there's a few guys, and we're often the one saying, we need this, can we have this? And no, they just did it. So that was pretty cool.
That's great.
Because, sometimes, we talked about how your leadership needs to change over time. And sometimes, particularly in the disability community, we are pretty small. So it's good to see things happen that we didn't beg for. So that's cool.
That's great.
Yeah.
And you said it's a small community, and I was also, I know when we did the Stations of the Cross last year, I was looking at some of the data, and there's a remarkably high number of people with disabilities, not all of which are visible. I forget what the statistic is. Do you recall?
It's between 1 in 5 people or 1 in 4 people. So 20 to 25% of people have a disability, whether it's physical, emotional, mental.
It's a remarkably high number, and I think the ways in which disabilities aren't always visible, and how meaningful the work of your ministry is for many people who you may not even know you're kind of touching and changing their lives.
Oh, thanks.
Pretty powerful.
That's pretty cool. Thanks.
And I think it's a real kind of education, and I know there's a lot of resistance within the church, within any community, I think, to be kind of fully inclusive.
Yeah.
And I can imagine that's been frustrating at times. How do you deal with the kind of frustration of kind of having to keep pushing on that?
Yeah, I think it helps to have friends who are involved, or if we need to live together, we can do that. And also, I think it helps that different people take on different roles at different times. So if I'm exhausted, someone else can do it for a while. It is exhausting to ask for stuff. Yeah, I think just sharing the load helps a lot.
Sharing the load helps a lot.
Yeah.
I think that's true. Yeah. You have such a positive attitude, such a joyful attitude, even though you've worked so hard and faced some of those frustrations for a number of years, I think.
Yeah. Even growing up, I had to fight for stuff, even though my parents said I was too young to fight for myself. And then I had to learn how to ask for what I need. And it's not always well received.
It's not always well received?
Yeah. Eventually, I either help out or just move on. Yeah.
Do you feel like our parish has kind of grown and evolved in your time here?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I feel like there's been a lot of shift from, there are always a lot of people involved, but I feel like the last several years, mainly, I think because of the shortage and the changeover of priests, the lay leadership has gotten even stronger.
I think what you said about kind of community and sort of
Yeah,
taking turns, and when one person's tired, somebody else can
yeah,
take up the charge
totally.
and supporting each other.
Yeah.
And I guess one of the things I was curious about in terms of some of the friendships and community you've developed here, kind of how did that come about and how does that kind of impact your life?
I feel like I've met most people outside of Mass. Mass isn't really like a social event, but like getting involved in ministries. We've been going to events when I'm not involved, just going to them. You meet people, and when you go to meetings, you meet people that are also interested in whatever issues that group takes on. That makes it easy to make friends. How about you?
Yeah, I think with the kind of Xavier Outings activities, and we've tried to do a lot of activities across different ministries. And so like with the Family Faith program and some folks who, kids and families and, tried to reach out to different ministries within the parish to try and bring people together that don't always, the different community at the 9:30 Mass versus the Sunday at 5 o'clock. And some of those folks may never see each other if we didn't try and plan some things outside of Mass to try and connect people. And to me, it really is, an extension of my family and the kind of relationships I've built and people that care about and support me. And I try and support them as it becomes a profound part of what the experience is here.
Yeah, I agree.
So, and then people like you who I think, have been just so profound leaders in this parish. And I feel like I've known you and admired you for a long time, but it's been such a pleasure to get to sit down and have a conversation one-on-one with you today.
I've seen you, especially on Zoom. God knows how many times the last 2 years. Yeah, it's just really great to see you in person and talk to you. And about how much you also do in this parish.
Thanks so much. It's great to be with you in person and not on Zoom, and look forward to lots of things ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Here I am, Lord, I come
to do your will. The music you are hearing is provided by the Xavier Music Ministry. From Age to Age is produced by St. Francis Xavier Church in New York City. This episode was recorded and edited by Cynthia Bastidas of Semiita Productions. A special thanks to the staff of St. Francis Xavier and Father Ken. Join us on our next episode. To learn more about St. Francis Xavier, visit sfxavier.org and look for us on social media. All copyrighted music reproduced with permission of one licensed copyright, A-700530, rights reserved. Music reprint license number 944. From downtown Manhattan, we wish you a blessed morning, day, or night.